Hey crypto bros, we have a lot to talk about. We're gonna go over some breaking news in regards to Babb, why this is good news for Zen, because Zen can have an opportunity to launch on regulated decentralized finance, which is good for the Zenians because they will have an opportunity to go on there and actually start minting. So it'll be another playground overall for the Zenians. Now, what is regulated DeFi? Well, regulated DeFi is basically bringing DeFi to the masses in a regulated space, in a compliant manner that's safe for everyone to actually get into and provide liquidity, doing farming, doing all these crazy things that DeFi actually offers. So basically what's happening right now is it's in the testing phase. They're going in testing Redefi ecosystem. They're going in testing the Redefi mainnet, making sure that everything is actually going properly and working before it goes to the masses. I can't say that for Pulsechain because when Pulsechain came out, we started having a lot of bugs. Took about 2 years and $2 billion, more than $1 billion to create another mainnet that you can actually interact with, which is crazy to think of that. Look, I was a first day sacrificer into Pulsechain, and what we started saying once Pulsechain came out, Pulsechain wasn't working properly. Okay, the bridge wasn't working properly. Once the bridge was launched, it was clogged up. The transactions weren't actually going through. So you wanted to interact with this ecosystem, you couldn't actually do that. And even that people that actually sacrificed for 2 years, they could have actually waited 2 years and then actually went in and dollar cost average after the bridge started working, because there was no real benefit for you to actually get in early unless you wanted to provide liquidity. And even with the liquidity provider fees, there was a bug that even the fees, as we can see here, will actually going to the burning mechanism. There is a good and bad to this. The good part is there was more Pulsex actually being burnt, so meaning it expedited the process of burning more. But the bad thing is that if you were a liquidity provider, the fees weren't actually going to you. So what was the point of that? So we started seeing the pulse scan wasn't working, the bridge wasn't working, the liquidity providers weren't working properly, the fees for those. And you sacrifice, you waited 2 years, and you're not even up, X's, right? You're not even up X's, guys. Very disappointing overall with what's been happening with Pulsechain. Look, I understand. I've been talking about this on this channel, right? We've been discussing, let's give Pulsechain the benefit of the doubt. But the more benefit of the doubt we give it, the more it seems that this thing is going to fall apart overall. And I understand development takes time. Nothing is perfect at the end of the day. And it takes trial and error. But when you had $2 billion, you should have been able to get the best devs to look at this. And especially when you're copying the Ethereum state and all of its assets and moving it over, things should be functioning properly. I understand the testnet can get all the bugs, because when you go launch on mainnet, that's when the true masses come in. That's when the full force of transactions come in. You see so many transactions happening, things tend to break down, things tend to slow down. So testnet can't fix all the bugs, or you don't know what all the bugs might be once you go public. So again, I expected a lot more. Let's continue to give Pulsechain benefit of the doubt here. Again, losing patience in regards to what's happening with this. I hate to continue to see this overall. However, look, it is what it is. We're not here to complain about it. We're here to see what is the best risk to reward overall. And that's why I think Babb will be the best risk to reward. Because, look, they're not asking for $2 billion to go to market. They're already been working really hard, and they're going after regulation, guys. They want to make sure they're fully compliant when it comes to regulation. And I think that's the best thing that you can do overall when it comes to this particular time landscape. We see that regulation is coming into the space. We've been talking about it on our channel for quite some time. Texas is moving head on, even though it's the innovation hub for many of these crypto projects. Texas and Florida has been accepting crypto more than any other states. But we even them starting to see them go after starting to regulate the space. Regulation will come into the space no matter what, whether you like it or not. And this is why I like Babb, because they're not shying away from regulatory frameworks. They're going after trying to develop around the regulatory frameworks to ensure that they're compliant overall. And I think this is going to be very huge. Very, very huge. And it's going to spell very well overall for price. And we're going to start to see that the BAX token is going to be the main token on Babb, which it will spell very well overall for Babb eventually. Babb had this big run up and it brought you about 1800%, guys, which is very, very substantial. If you guys followed my calls on Twitter, you would have been up very substantially. You could have been taking profits so you can reinvest back in at these prices. So that's why you want to go ahead and follow me on Twitter. But let's take a look at this. We've been grinding against this trend line here. Every time this price action meets this particular trend line, it's acting as heavy resistance overall. Now we did break above it. We started to put in a double bottom in this area. Now there's not much support, but if you were to take your fib extrapolation point from that swing low to your swing high, you can see we're coming around the 50 percentile, meaning of this move, you retraced 50% of it. Now the 50 percentile usually is a good Fibonacci retracement level. If we can set this as a bottom and consolidate in this area, if we can consolidate in this area, we can come back and retest this resistance area right here. The point being is a lot of confluence of resistance coming all the way back to 2021. Now the reason I wanted this, we were discussing this previously when we had this big run up. We were saying we wanted to turn this into support structure, because if it fell below this support structure, this on the macro time frame, it's going to act as heavy resistance overall for Babb. So there is definitely heavy resistance overall. We wanted to stay above it. The bulls couldn't, the buyers couldn't come into this market and sold this off completely. And that's why I say, look, start to take some profits. There will always be opportunities presented to you, so you can buy back in and start accumulating. Again, this is a long-term play, guys. Zen contract may be launched on Babb. Cool thing is that we'll get the ability to actually start minting there. And this has more potential to do hundreds of X's more than actually Pulsechain, because look, Pulsechain is already big in market capitalization. Do you want to be in $1 billion market cap, or do you want to find hidden gems that are actually going toward regulation, being compliant, building things that are going to work properly and do it in a seamless manner and low market cap that can 100x? I want to choose that coin, guys. That's the coin I want to be in. This is going to act as heavy resistance, but we'll keep an eye on this, see how this plays out. Again, Babb was one of the best performing altcoins against Bitcoin. We can see we had this big drive up, broke above heavy historical resistance coming in from high key levels here. So you can see, but the good thing is, look, we're starting to build this higher low structure right here, which is good, which can be a bit of a plateau to break above. Now we can see we broke below this. We were saying on our previous technical analysis video is that we broke above it. This is going to come back, retrace, retest this as support structure. Now we did fall below it. This is going to act as heavy resistance, because you can see resistance here, resistance here, resistance here. So again, with the news coming out, this is going to be a great opportunity for this to be turned into support and then start swinging high. Now, basis of what we've been discussing here, that BAX has been doing fairly well against Bitcoin, one of the best performing against Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Ethereum here and why I think Ethereum is poised to do a lot better than Bitcoin overall in this next run. We can see we're coming to this key area. This is acting as resistance right here. You can see once should have been support, again acting as resistance right here, right here. So there is a confluence of resistance in this area. Now again, Ethereum is looking a lot better than Bitcoin because it is putting in these higher low structures, and it actually just put in a higher high on the higher time frames against this lower high that was coming off of this rejection point of the resistance line. So this is good. It's looking very well, very poised. Now, if we look at fib extrapolation point, we can see right now, based off of this, okay, we'll redraw this for you. Based off of this, from the swing high to the swing low of this, we're getting rejected at the 50 percentile. Now, if we can actually turn this into support, guys, this is very good for Ethereum right here, okay? This means that we're going to come back, most likely test the 618 resistance, which has target ranges of 2,500, guys. So again, Ethereum can outperform Bitcoin in the shorter time frames here, look, there's a lot happening with Bitcoin, Taproot, everything. Bitcoin needs to evolve in order to start breaking newer all-time highs again. We're seeing BRC20 come to Bitcoin. We're seeing this narrative driving smart contracts into Bitcoin. And that's needed overall because we need these new narratives to come into play. We need these new things to come and push Bitcoin a lot higher. It is the big behemoth. It's this big macro cap coin that needs a lot of narratives around it in order to continue to drive it. You have the halving narrative. You have the BRC20 narrative. However, you have a lot going on for Ethereum on the charts, guys. Now, based off of this, you're building out this structure on the higher time frames. This can put you back at all-time highs, guys, around $5,000. Okay, now I'm not saying this is what's going to happen here. I don't like to trade this way, but technical analysis based off of this formation, usually it's pretty bullish to the upside. Now, if that was the case, it would put you around $5,000. If this were to drop, you're looking at back at $700 per one Ethereum. However, the case narrative here is that, look, this is looking like more bullish. The stochastic is starting to turn to the upside on the weekly. So this is good overall. So Ethereum is looking very bullish. And if Ethereum starts to break, spells very well for Babb, spells very well overall for Zen. So great things are happening overall in the space, a lot of development. I'll leave you off with that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Until next time, bros, as always, stay profitable.